What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to quickly jump on it and talk about the deteriorating relations right now in the subcontinent of Asia between Pakistan and India. So many would say this is probably one of the most dangerous areas in the world due to these two nations. People forget. So of course, I constantly talk about the trilateral century, this tripolar century where you have India rising, and because attention is so focused on China and America, people are forgetting that India is a major player, and I think India is a far more imposing threat to Western interests than China, and that's primarily around the understanding that I think that China and the West, I think, have a very complementary relationship. Whereas I think India, I think, is kind of the bird that can kind of take over the nest, if you know what I mean. So you have this rise in power of 1.4 billion people, and they're basically diasporan behemoths. They go to countries, they speak English, they're able to, through migration, establish business, and they're very good at what they do, and they pretty much own economies. I think the Chinese, they're a lot more focused internally, domestic cohesion, nationalism, etc. It really is India. You can almost say you can India with the tentacles that I think it has those global aspirations. Now, that being said, India is rising. India is a nuclear power. India is a force to be reckoned with as it should be. And they're basically surrounded by water. They're enclosed by the mountains of the subcontinent and surrounded by water. So it's pretty much no counter force there on the subcontinent. They are larger than all of its neighbors combined. They are a beast. And on top of that, they're moving towards this idealism of this Indianness being synonymous with Hinduness. So you have that, and that's obviously going to be in contrast to Pakistan. Now, for those that know, India and Pakistan once united, separated in 1947, and one of the biggest, bloodiest separations or partitions from a country in the history of the world. Some people believe the estimates between the death is as low as 200,000. That's on the low end, as high as 2 million people. I've seen that vary, but this is basically two countries that separated from one, and it was a bloodbath of crime and pillage and slaughter and murder. So all this speaks to their bloody history. On top of that, you throw into the mix Pakistan is really good friends with China for obvious reasons. Some people even believe that China gave Pakistan the technology and the intelligence that it used to build up its nuclear arsenal. So you have this situation there. On top of this, and this is what I always talk about Pakistan. I think Pakistan, from an internal cohesion point of view, is probably the most dangerous country in the world. When you put to the fact, many people forget this is a country with nuclear weapons with 250 million people. 250 million people. And on top of that, its internal population, they pretty much run a security state there because Pakistan sits at the crossroads of not only religion, when you have uh, Hindus in India and Pakistan, Muslims, and they're surrounded by the greater Islamic belt that goes through the Middle East up into Central Asia to Pakistan North, but also ethnic divide. This is where you have the next to Central Asia, where you have the Turk Mongolic people meet the Pashtuns, the Indo-European people, and they meet the Indo-Aryan people of the subcontinent. So you have this ethnic divide, you have this religious divide. Some would say there's Balakistan, where you have separatists that are many separatists in Pakistan. Every year, Pakistan is burdened by terrorism. It's always going to be the number one, number two, or number three country that is plagued on the global terrorism index. So Pakistan has its hands full. On top of that, it's a country that killed prime ministers. Imran Khan's been in jail. They imprisoned prime ministers. This is a country that really works hard on political stability because it pretty much has such low political credit in the country. In this country, because of the extremism, it can go kaboom at any time. That's why the military and the ISI, the intelligence service, really keep a tight lid on Pakistan. It is a very volatile country, or at least it could be, given the nature of things. So supposedly there's a terrorist attack in a Indian Kashmir. It's a managed region of Kashmir. So the Indian government region of Kashmir, there was a terrorist attacks. I believe 26, 29 tourists were killed. The Indians are blaming the Pakistanis, saying that these terrorists received Pakistani support. They've cut ties. They're threatening to cut off or suspend the Indus River Treaty, which basically the border between these two nations, the Indus River, home of the great civilization. Both of these countries use these water. Pakistan is highly dependent on the waters of the Indus River and for energy, etc. And you have India, which is basically threatened to, excuse me, you have India, which is basically threatening to cut the river access off from Pakistan. Pakistan said this is an act of war, which it would be by most countries' consideration, because you're threatening the livelihood of that country. Pakistan is a highly agrarian society as well. As much as a quarter of GDP can be attributed to the agrarian commerce, which relates back to the Indus River. So it's highly dependent on this river. So these countries are getting their basically political people out of each other countries. People getting kicked out left and right. Um, the Pakistani has basically stopped their airspace being available to Indian commercial flights. So this is quickly deteriorating. I think America is, a lot of countries are probably in the background working because this can de-escalate. These countries are massive populations. I don't think, push come to shove, that they will hesitate to use nuclear weapons because of that. The animosity is so big. Because India is so much bigger and stronger than Pakistan, I think Pakistan will feel as though it's fighting for its livelihood, and they will resort to, I think, drastic measures. On top of that, I don't think China would appreciate any aggression towards Pakistan. As I said, Pakistan is one of China's great allies, one of its fruit and great allies. And I really think that China relies on that relationship. As I said, India really flanks a lot of China's geostrategic interests that has to go through the Indian Ocean. And what Pakistan does, it gives China a possible land option on the other side, to the west of India, closer to their Middle Eastern resources such as oil and gas and Central Asian resources that China needs. So China values Pakistan greatly. And this thing could devolve very, very quickly. I find it odd. I don't really, it's weird to me. It's goofy to me. It's just the response doesn't fit the crime. I don't think, it's almost, I'm not going to say staged, but it's odd. It's quirky. I don't think Pakistan wants any smoke with India. Pakistan has enough problem as it is. Let's not forget, India has been one of the great supporters of the Taliban in Afghanistan. The Taliban within Pakistan, with relationship with the Taliban in Afghanistan, have been giving Pakistan headaches. Pakistan has been managing a lot of issues. I mean, as you know, that's the country where they found Osama bin Laden at. So, and who knows who knew he was there in Pakistan. And this is where I talk about the internal cohesion issues and the security issues that face Pakistan on a daily. This is a country who's a couple beers short of a six pack, if you know what I'm saying, if it was a person. So this country is really going through it, and I don't think their number one priority is to create havoc in Kashmir for India. It's just not the fight they want right now. They got so much on their plate right now. That's not the fight they want. And the fact that India is just going out of its way to be what I think aggressive towards Pakistan. Instead of going to Pakistan and say, "Hey, what happened? Like, how can we get together? How can we build more peace on the subcontinent as partners and neighbors?" They come up with this whole Pakistan is the problem. And it's such a drastic, bigoted prejudicial attack on Pakistan. It's absolutely absurd to me why the Indians are behaving this way outside of trying to reach a power play. So we'll see how it continues to go, but this is a devolving situation and it has great security implications. So let me know your thoughts. Have you heard anything about this issues since the latest updates? We'd love to hear your insight if you have any relations with India and Pakistan as well in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content as well. Until next time, take care. Batu up.